This weekend, the Canadian beef industry will reflect on the 20-year anniversary of the BSE crisis. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney, joins us now for an outlook on this. Sean, thank you so much for being here. So talk about how the industry looks back on the events that happened.
Well, great to be with you here today. It's hard to believe that 20 years has passed since the BSE crisis, where that one Black Angus cow was found to have BSE, and all of a sudden everybody was had to refamiliarize themselves with what exactly that was. And what it meant is immediately the Canada-U.S. border, along with 40 other countries, basically said, Canada, no thank you when it comes to not only live cattle exports, but also box beef as well. Very traumatic experience, and I don't put that lightly. You know, the impacts were felt immediately as borders closed. Canada is very much an exporter when it comes to beef. All of a sudden, what are we going to do with all of this meat? We saw reefers being parked in grocery store parking lots, where basically essentially hawking beef out of the back of a trailer. We saw, people trying to figure out how to downsize their herds as inventory values of those animals absolutely dived. Banks trying to help people through it. Not everybody, of course, made it. And one of the results has been a massive exit of producers. Many of the mixed farms are no longer mixed. They are now just strictly cash crop operations.
So a reduction in ranchers, is that the impact you see that still lingers today, 20 years later?
Yeah, you'll hear when we hear Canadian cattle market analysts like, say, Ann Wasco from the Gateway Livestock Exchange, who we talk to on Real Ag Radio every 2 weeks. She always mentions the fact that some of the fact that we just haven't been able to rebuild that cow herd, so to speak. Now, some of that has to do with you think of the last like recently. That's more to do with drought. But, like I mentioned earlier, we lost a lot of producers. And so people that had maybe 50 pairs, maybe 100 pairs on the side, those people are, for the most part, a lot of them are gone and they don't exist. If you talk to ranchers in the Maritimes or out west or anywhere in Canada, they'll tell you that I used to have a lot of neighbors that had cows, and now none of them have them. So this is still an issue that we continue to fight today, as Canada is very heavily reliant on feeder cattle coming out of the U.S. into the Canadian feeding sector.
Sean, in your opinion, what do you think Canada learned from the BSE crisis?
Well, one of the key things I think that we learn is that one cow can have a great impact, and the fact that today on the Farmer Rapid Fire, tomorrow on the Farmer Rapid Fire and Real Ag Radio, we're going to have some ranchers and feeders on to talk about some of their experiences. And in some of the pre-discussions I've had with them, a few have said, this is a great example where things that are completely out of your control can absolutely be the most stressful. And farm organizations, checkoff organizations like the CCA, the Canadian Cattle Association, really proved their worth in those times. Making sure they were lobbying in DC to ensure that everybody had all the information so that border could open up as quickly as possible. Remember, the full border didn't reopen until like 26 months after May 20th of 2003. So it took a lot of hard work and a lot of time to make the U.S. feel safe that they could reopen that border. So a lot of people talk about the BSE crisis in Canada like someone would talk about the dirty 30s. It definitely has had a lasting impact.
Absolutely. Big impact. Thank you so much, Sean. What great insight. I know you're going to have a great show coming up. Host of Real Ag Radio, Sean Haney. And you want to catch Sean's show, Real Ag Radio. It's going to air 4:30 p.m. Eastern weekdays on Rural Radio Channel 147. That's on Sirius XM. And, of course, we love having them join us here on the Market Day Report. Look forward to tomorrow.